We used to say the internet is forever, but what if that was never really true? Tonight, we're going to explore how online content can be edited, deleted, hidden, archived, recovered, manipulated, or recontextualized, and what that means for trust, memory, and truth in the digital age. In a world of AI-generated media, disappearing messages, silent edits, and endless screenshots, the real question may not be whether something lasts forever, but whether we can still understand what changed, who changed it, and why. Let's get into it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, office hours in YouTube world. My name is David. Welcome to The Rundown. I'm so happy to have you all here. We have a lot to talk about tonight with a lot of people to talk about it with, including Ms. Tamara Pica. Hello, Tamara.
Hello. How are you today? I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Doing okay. I had a week, but it's Thursday, and tomorrow we have the day. I have the day off at least, and
we met the Paskins.
And we all got to meet the Paskins, minus one. One of them is working at camp this summer, but the rest are all here. It was very nice of them to meet all of you and for you to meet all of them.
I'm so excited.
Yes, and I'm very excited to see my friend Tony Mobley. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Good. Now, the rumor before the show was that last night's conversations was stunning and amazing. Who'd you have on last night? Where could people see it?
I had Dr. Chloe Chapin, and she wrote a book. She wrote a book called Suitable, and I'm going through it right now. And what was very interesting about it talked about primary, ironically, since we're celebrating the 250 birthday of America, her book starts with a conversation about why people wear the clothing that they did back in that time and how that relates to the clothing that we wear today. It was a very interesting conversation, and it actually sort of pushes us to think about the clothing that we wear and why we wear them, and actually some of the things that go on behind the scenes in terms of this idea of how you present yourself.
I love that. Sounds beautiful. All right, I'm going to have to catch up with that. Conversation with TonyMobley.com, correct?
Com.
Amazing. Good to have you here. As well, it is wonderful to have Lois. Lois Richter.
Hello. It is beautiful out there. I really have sympathy for the people on the East Coast who are having a heat wave, but California is cooler than normal now.
I will tell you, it is a little steamy. We just before the show, we just actually got back from a birthday dinner for my eldest daughter, and the restaurant that we chose, their air conditioning was down. It was not pleasant. It is really hot. And we're not, ironically, again, down in South Florida, we're not getting the worst of it. I think Northeast is getting even worse than we have done here. But
well, remember that we are past the equinox, which means the days are getting shorter, the nights are getting longer. Winter's coming. Doesn't feel like it, but yep, winter's coming.
I'll take it. You know what else I'll take? Dave Troutman, who's back from his week on assignment. Where were you on assignment, Dave? Where were you reporting from last week?
I was the West Coast. We have a West Coast here, and it is called the Silly Coast. But we had a gathering of people, and it was just a joyous time. I'm on Team Blue today, along with Lois, and we're against Team Plaid, who showed up.
Yes, John and Tony, absolutely. Yeah. I have to, when you said the West Coast, it's funny because I distinctly remember when I moved to Florida that when people say West Coast here, they mean Sarasota. They mean the West Coast of Florida. And I've always lived in sort of the Boston, New York area. So West Coast for me always meant California.
Way over there.
Yeah, it was, and so it's depending on where you are in the world.
I should thank Bill for being my avatar while I was gone too. He did a great job.
He's amazing. You know who else is amazing? This guy right here, Mr. Sky Gleason. Hello, sir.
Hello from the left coast.
The left.
If you've not heard it referred to that, yes, we
like
are
that.
up here in the
Yeah.
PNW, if you get more meticulous. And I would like to make an altitude sighting because as we had lunch together, I came up to hug Dave Troutman and I came up to his chin. That man is tall.
Wait, really?
He sits so short in that camera.
yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness. And I thought Tallulah had height. No,
I'm
no.
really this
Troutman.
tall. That's what I am. Yeah.
Wait, let's
There
hold
you
on,
am.
hold on. Dave, how tall are you?
6'1".
Not as tall as Tallulah.
6'1". Sky, how tall are you?
Not that tall. I'm
Neither am I.
5'8", looking up at
5'8".
my
6'1".
You're a
At my
shorty.
betters.
I'm
That's
5'11".
a
No,
7-inch difference.
I'm a
Okay.
foot shorter than Dave.
Did I say 9? Did I meant 5'9". My
5'9".
Okay,
That- is that
anyway.
you? That's
my
like
driver's license. I just got my new driver's license, so I'll go check.
5'9.5".
rounding.
And those hats are important.
Not as tall as Dave. There's the punchline to that
That's,
one.
that's right. That, when
And
we
it was
all
a
measure
lovely
ourselves.
lunch.
We all measure
We had-
ourselves against
and-
Dave.
Dave, who else did we see from office hours? It was such a great reunion. Oh my
James
gosh.
Haldane, Dave Kaufman,
Mitt,
Alexander Knight, and Roz McNulty, along with Guy Cochran and yours
Oh.
truly.
Love it.
and Guy and Sky drove up together, and boy, did that confuse the guards at the border. It's like, what?
Love it.
What?
You're what,
And,
Sky?
and
Guy?
bringing up the rear of the plaid team, Mr. John Iddleson, Professor John Iddleson. Hello, Professor. How are you?
Doing great, but I want my friends on the East Coast to stay hydrated. Drink water.
Yes, with a subtle ad.
Wow.
Did you see that? Did you see the
Wow.
product placement there? I love
Product placement, Mike.
Very nice.
it. That's fantastic. All right, we got some
But
news to get.
I moved from Chicago to California, and I grew up in Ohio, but we have relatives in New York, and it was very hard for me when I was first here, and I'd be going either back to Chicago or Ohio, and they said, "Oh, you're heading east." I said, "No, I'm heading
Right.
to the Midwest." That's not east. East anyway.
By the way, newsflash. My daughter
Beep, beep,
just
beep, beep,
invited
beep,
all
beep,
of you
beep,
to
beep,
her
beep.
wedding. I'm not sure I'm okay with that since
We'll need a big monitor.
I'm going to go talk to her for a second. While I do that, let's get ready for the news. The entire office hours is invited to my daughter's wedding for sure.
And where is it going to be?
Right here at my temple in Florida.
In Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Y'all have to
How long do
How
we have to
soon?
get there?
it's in February, so you're okay.
February.
If you start
Oh.
walking now, you'll make it.
We'll make it.
Yeah. All right. Hey, do any of you stream to X?
I didn't
I
even
can't
know
even
you
get into
could.
my
Yeah,
X.
right. I came across this week, and it made me think about the destinations that we choose, and I know that even within the office hours community, we've talked about. We recently started doing shorts. Maybe not so recently, a while back, started doing shorts more intently. When I started, I was always streaming to Facebook and YouTube together. I haven't streamed to Facebook in years. I'm solely on YouTube now. But X just announced a big update to their live streaming command center. They have this creator studio platform. And on top of that, they've allocated another $1 million this month to pay content creators to go live on their platform. So I'm thinking Conversations with Tony Mobley may want to, start streaming to X. I don't know, but I mean, is there a future streaming on all these different platforms? Is it better that we consolidate it into one on YouTube? What's your sense of this?
I mean, I think it's great. If that's where your community is, then you've been waiting for this for a long time, right? So they're a little late to the party, but good for them. I haven't been able to get into my X account for like 4 years. Like I don't even, it was Twitter when I couldn't get into it. So it's there.
Mm.
I haven't used it in forever. But there's a lot of people who really started there, who created and cultivated a community there. And it would be a great thing for them. So yeah, I mean, I think that where my brother, his church only streams to Facebook. And I'm like, you only go to Facebook. How come? He's like, that's where my people are. That's where they go. So I think that having options where your community is to be able to reach them in multiple modes is great.
You know what's interesting is
I will use it.
is that's the way I always thought, Tamara, is I would always go to Facebook because that's where my audience was. But Tamara is coming in doubled, it says. Tamara, say something again.
Yeah. Okay, I'm saying something again.
No, I don't know. I don't hear
Why
you
is-
doubled. I don't know.
So maybe
Wait,
part
wait,
of it
let me
is-
just say one thing. Sorry, Lois, I just want to finish my thought. And that is that I also went to Facebook because that's where my audience was. But I decided that the experience that the platform offers, both for me as the content creator and for the audience, is more important to me than being everywhere. And maybe I'm cutting my face off despite whatever that
So,
saying is. But the
for him-
experience on Facebook was so awful that
So
I've had this conversation with him, and the one thing about it is that he has an older audience. They understand Facebook. They actually don't understand YouTube. And so for him, he's like, because I said, why don't you go to YouTube? Why don't you broaden it? He's like, that isn't, these people understand. And I know because I helped my mom get online, and she literally understands how to get to that one thing. Everything else is absolutely befuddling, and why cut her off and my brother's whole congregation, because that is who his people are.
yeah. Lois and Tony, please.
So one of the things to think about is who is on the different platforms. Is the group on X a different community, a different group of people? Is there a political difference between this and that and the other? Is it what is the most neutral one? And so for me, I really don't care where people are. If I know that they exist, I'll go find them. And I probably wouldn't go to, I don't know, Truth Social or something, but I might go to X. I don't know. I used to go to Twitter. So it has to do, I think, with who your audience is potentially and who your audience is now. So if you have an audience, then that's great. I don't know why people would not just stream to different places, except that you can't really have chat from 5 different places at once. Hey, Tony.
Well, I was a fierce Twitter user. I used Periscope with Twitter, and I was a part of the Blab and a Meerkat community. So I was really on those things and doing a lot of things on there previous to the pandemic. But now I just use YouTube and conversationwithtonymobley.com website primarily. In the early days of conversations, we did do simulcasts to YouTube and LinkedIn. It's kind of strange in that with LinkedIn, I get more conversation and comments back and forth, but with Facebook, it's kind of, people watch, but there's no back and forth, and so that's an interesting thing. But right now we're just YouTube, and I will share things on Facebook and LinkedIn.
I think it depends probably on whether you're looking for a wide audience or a community. I think some of these things are more community oriented and some of them are, well, what you would say is general audience. And I don't think what, we talk about here is general audience stuff. It's well, quite admittedly, it's geek stuff. So
Yeah,
maybe
agreed.
it's got its
Sorry,
own
I was
community.
muted when I said Scott. Go ahead.
And the question for Lois is, are there certain products that you do not buy because of you have a belief system about the company or something?
For me, for
that
sure.
you
Yeah.
make
I mean, do I
choices?
boycott things?
Yeah.
You
Well,
said
in
that. I
general-
didn't.
In general, I don't usually boycott a particular product, but in general, I would prefer to do business with someone that is local, that I can know and whatever. But a lot of times that isn't possible. So it's not a brand thing, it's a quality thing and a community thing.
Well, and for me, I found my response to this question is I choose not to buy at Walmart. I
Mhm.
have particular reasons that I believe their economics is twisted, and they market to justify their things. Now, are they convenient? Do they have everything? Yes. Has it been at a cost? Absolutely. To middle America? Absolutely. To small town America? Absolutely. Apparently, I have opinions. So yes, the thank you for laughing, Dave. But I never thought I'd be that guy. But I'm trying to vote with my little chances that I do. So I will probably I will absolutely be boycotting X, as I would have loved to have driven a Tesla but I can't now. I just can't.
I wasn't even getting into the politics of it. I was just curious about.
Oh, I know, of
the
course.
platform
And I
itself.
brought it up, and so slap me here.
You're in a lot of trouble. Hey, speaking of politics, Fable 5 is back from Claude.
Yeah, do more. Come on, there's more music. Make it dramatic.
What was this, like a bum bum bum?
This is the
Oh,
news.
echo,
However, you know, it needs a bumper.
Yeah. So the U.S. government has lifted export controls on Anthropic's most advanced AI models, including Fable and Mythos. And they started restoring access, I believe it was yesterday or maybe it was today. Over the past 2 weeks, the Secretary of Commerce said, we've worked closely with Anthropic to analyze and approve Fable 5 to ensure alignment across the U.S. government and strengthen America's leadership in AI. As it turns out, there was a bug or a weakness or a something that Amazon found, a jailbreak that Amazon found that allowed people to get around Fable's guardrails. And so now that has been addressed, and it's out. Now, if you really want to play with it, this week is the time, because very shortly it will be paywalled in a big way, because it's a very expensive model. But I don't know. I haven't jumped on it yet.
The partner that I have in Boise sleeping is an option at this point for the next 7 days. So he's just throwing everything he can at it, and apparently it's many horsepower more, doing amazing things for us.
Really?
Yeah.
And you know, while this was still not available, OpenAI released 5.6, which immediately, it wasn't taken down, but it basically was not released to anyone, any of us, at least, not that I know of. The government again said, let's send this out to some approved partners, and because of its advanced capabilities. I remember hearing early on, you know what it was? It was the letter that a bunch of tech folks had written. We talked about it, I think, last week or the week before. This letter that they wrote saying, listen, government, you can take our Fable 5, but understand that Fable 5 is not the only great model out there. And so it's going to be better if you give us the tools, let us learn how to use them for the benefit of society, and so on and so forth. I was thinking about that when OpenAI announced, or they didn't even really announce it, but when 5.6, when the news came out about that it's maybe just as capable as Fable 5. Yeah, Tony, go for it.
Yeah, I think based on a conversation that I had earlier today, I think that one of the things that they have to be careful about when they pull these different mainstream AI pay walls is that the open source AIs have the opportunity to continue to improve, and so because they have the opportunity to improve while the mainline AI companies are holding things back, it makes things a little bit complicated for them. So they have to figure out a way to continue to innovate with the new AIs. Otherwise, the open AIs may actually take the market.
I want them to kind of, I want there to be guardrails. I want there to be guardrails. But what I would prefer is if they would have guardrails before they release, because this pulled when a bunch of people were in the middle of major projects and then they were kind of left high and dry. So I do want them to have some kind of guardrail, but I also want them to be like,
Although this
be
was,
more thoughtful
this
about
was
it.
this was the best marketing for Anthropic.
Absolutely.
For Fable 5. I mean, it's taking away what everyone was talking about, making everyone wait with bated breath. I imagine they're getting a run on at least a 1 month subscription to Anthropic so that people can play around with Fable 5 for the next 5 days or so. I actually have a big project that I have someone doing some security work on, and that's really what I would want to use it for. I'd want to, grab it for the week and just say, hey, do me a favor, look at this project in GitHub and break it, find the flaws.
Do you think
I've been
that
pulling
so
things
many
back a
people-
little bit though.
So
Do you
hold on
think that having so many people trying to use it for the free week, and then of course they'll stop when they have to pay too much money, but do you think that that will overextend or blow up the program or the company or anything?
Well, it certainly could overextend it. Just to be clear, though, it's most definitely not free this week. You still have to have a Claude Pro or whatever, Eternal account or whatever it is. The difference between now and later is that now it's included in, you can use up to, I think it's up to 50% of your
50%.
credits can be used toward Fable 5. So even now they have a limit on it. So even... Yeah, so actually it won't blow up now because they've put that, now that I think of it, they've put that limit on it. So 50% of your credits can be used toward Fable 5. And I think it's maybe on Tuesday is when the change happens. I believe you'll have to purchase something separate to
So
get access to.
is when you buy this license that allows you to use that, are those licenses restricted? In other words, can anyone just go and buy a license, or do you have to get approved, or do they limit how many there are, or any of that stuff?
No, you can do it whenever you want.
It didn't it just change recently? Some of the models you went to a subscription, but then it flipped into a token construct. So it's like a punch card. You can use it in, like when you went to the fun game
and
store,
those tokens
you
are
just kept putting
dangerous.
it in until all of your tokens went away.
And then when you run out of tokens and you know that the next time you're going to hit it, what do? You buy more tokens.
You buy more tokens.
Boy,
I think
I'm
the
doing
key-
that in Lovable with my vibe coding. I have just flushed money.
Friend of mine is ready to sell you his used Tasklet because he's now moved over a couple of different things. And I said, hey, I know a guy.
Yeah.
I know a guy.
Yeah.
But I think the key is everybody learning the models a little bit better, because there's a lot of stuff that I've realized I use higher models for that I don't need higher models for that. I
Yeah.
need lower models, and it affects me almost negligible. Like I can't tell the difference. So, I think that's kind of the key. I've started to kind of pull back on tasks and be like, can Sonnet handle this? Can the lower models handle this? And come to find out, yeah, it can. It doesn't hurt me at all. And I'm still getting fast input. And I think that's part of this culture that we live in, which is like faster, bigger, better is the best. And that is not necessarily true in these models.
Totally
and the
good
key
point.
is
Good enough,
knowing
remember?
the difference.
Good
Good enough.
enough.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Lois.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't buy from Amazon, because I don't want to become accustomed to going, I I bought my Freon for my refrigerator from Amazon today. Longer story, being out of a refrigerator for 3 weeks, not a fun thing. But anyway, I couldn't find it anywhere else and I needed it. So yes, I do buy from Amazon, but it was painful how quickly it just went click and it's okay, it's on its way and my money's out gone. And it's like, it does remind me of the cocaine model of the first one's free. So just saying.
Your pain points and my pain points are different because I think the fact that it's click and it's at my door is absolutely a
Yes.
feature, not a bug.
I agree. I agree.
And do
It's-
you, now that you're talking about you're using tokens, are these tokens like real tokens that I can give mine to Tamara if I don't use them all, or is it just sort of like you get so many minutes per?
It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. It's a game. The gamification has been applied, and so a lot of these are phrases, terms, marketing things for us to construct in our mind a transactional concept. So immediately when I said go to the fun farm, or got me fun farm, the fun, the family center, we used to have to buy the tokens, right? We go up and get the little tick tick tick, and you would have play. Well, it's the new version of that, just gaseous and
we've
amorphic.
we've talked about this for the past 2 weeks on the Zoom Test Kitchen, because they've been kind of massaging and rolling out and playing with their AI, and while there's still, at least in my mind, a little confusion about them, there's sort of the free AI, the Zoom AI, and then there's the paid Zoom Mate. But what's interesting about one or both of them is that they call them credits, I believe, and it's not always clear when you are spending credits, how much each action costs in credits. And so we've been talking, and that's not just Zoom, we just happen to have been talking about it in Zoom, that transparency around spending credits or tokens or whatever you want to call it, and what it means. Like, how much is it costing me to do this action is really important. And it's not something that as far as I know, of the AI companies are doing well. And it's a challenge. It's because it's like monopoly money. It feels to me, at least, like monopoly money,
It is.
Right.
Yeah. The barter tokens have been around, since clamshells,
Right.
So bearskins. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to do this right now with my Burt's Bees here and see if we can get a case of
Is this another product
lipstick
placement
coming
Yeah.
in.
Okay.
Maybe.
Wow.
Maybe.
There we go. That was very well done.
Thank you, John.
All right, folks.
Oh, you lost your mic.
I know I didn't. I just stopped. I pressed the button. I apologize. Let's get to our main story. So the main story is something that feels very backwards from what I grew up with, because I grew up with, I didn't grow up with this, but in 20 years ago, I grew up with be careful what you post. 10 years ago, be careful what you post. The internet is forever. And when whatever you do now as a teen, whatever stupid things you post now as a teenager, when you go for a job, people are going to look you up. They're going to see what you posted, and that's going to have an impact. So be careful what you post. And I'm not sure that isn't still true, but I think in 2026, it is far more complicated, because digital content is no longer, or maybe never was, simply permanent. It's not also simply temporary. It's this weird middle space where it's easy to change on the surface, but it's difficult to fully erase underneath. So let's just start with something easy. Show of hands. How many people here have deleted something online quietly hoping that no one saw it first?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
My
Dave,
my favorite
John,
is hit send all.
Sky, you're all lying. Really?
Never.
Really?
One of the things I learned very early is not to put things on unless you've read it through 5 times, or it gets you in trouble later, or that the world will change and then you'll look silly saying that. So I trained myself not to put stuff on. Actually, if you look up Dave Troutman, you don't find me very far, because I'm just not there.
I learned, I did the opposite of that, like playing guitar, Paskin. You get calluses, right? You get better at it. Well, when you hit reply all to 3,700 people, yeah, you learn early about how to click a button. So there you go.
When we started doing email and the internet got commercial, and in our little town, our station, our node, as they would call it at the time, was one of the first ones that we could do commercial stuff with. And so I was teaching people to use the internet. I was really young. And what we always said to folks is treat your email as if it were a postcard. Yes, it will eventually get to the other end, but everybody in between can read it. So don't write down anything that you wouldn't want your mom, your aunt, your kids, anything that you wouldn't want made public. Don't put it out there. And that worked.
Tony.
Yeah, I would say that I don't remember writing anything, but I do remember I wish I could pull back some things I've said online. So I guess that's the difference.
Okay, but so that's a perfect segue, actually. You can. I'll give you an example. I don't remember when it was, but Dave, you helped me realize, it was probably a few months ago, that I had done a screen share during one of our shows, and by accident, I showed Mukana. Well, no problem. As soon as the live stream was over, I hopped into YouTube, I clipped that part out, problem solved. And that's where I'm getting, is that when this whole internet thing started, I thought that everything on the internet was sacred, that there was this permanent digital record. And what I've now learned is that there is no record, because everything is editable, and especially with AI. There was just a video today. Oh, goodness gracious. Rick Beto just put out a video, I think it was today, about a friend of his, another guitar reviewer or a musician, who found a video on YouTube of a different person in his studio. So they took that video, they took the studio from behind him, put an AI character in instead of the main speaker. Nothing is sacred. Everything is editable.
But that's two different things, right? Because one of the things that happened when we kind of grew into this idea that you have to be careful of what you put on there is we have a cultivated reality. So we cultivated for people what our Facebook feeds would look like and what they would sound like. So already it's a pre-edit or versus a post-edit. So the problem that we're having now is you have cultivated reality that is gaining importance and non-importance up against an uncultivated reality, which is this internet slop that is just so easy to put up that it's drowning out. So it's kind of hard to know what's disappearing and what's able to be seen or not seen, because we're literally not cultivating. We're continuing to cultivate our garden that is being kind of has a bunch of weeds in it, and you can't tell the difference anymore.
Sky.
And that's where you were the perfect example, and Tamara, pointed it out. We're running two threads at the same time. What was a truth that we understood to be a social communal experience of this is a pen, it does this, and now it's like, no, it's actually a stylus. That means what? And so it's the divergent of a thing simultaneously happening. To the other phrase that came to mind was, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, which was a marketing term, right? Well, it meant you could be free to do whatever, a thing that they wanted to sell you. You could indulge in all of that moral, ethical stuff that you couldn't do, back in your white picket fence in Iowa. So this is a complicated situation that we're doing both things at the same time, going 180 degree opposite directions.
Yeah, Dave, go ahead.
Well, actually, I was just going to say John was next, but that's,
Well, in school, we may have been around an age where the threat was this will be on your permanent record. And I think, Dave, what you're talking about here is what's on a permanent record.
Right. That's what I was
But with the
thinking.
Wayback Machine, there are ways of seeing what was on the internet at a particular time. And yes, you can go back and try to delete things or change things or release new versions. But, certain portions of the electronic records that we have are at least searchable and findable at a later date.
I also remember in the early days of the internet before Web 2, MIT was trying to record the internet every day.
They were trying to record, you said?
Yeah, they were trying to capture
Yeah.
everything happening on the internet every day. They had some capacity to do that, but I think they stopped about the time Web 2 came out because they couldn't capture all the CSS animations and all that sort of stuff without loading everything up, which is, of course, why Sora is gone, because there's too much visual to store.
I
So we
mean-
have two different kinds of things, more than two probably, but we have websites which people create to give information to everyone else. And those started out being static. In other words, it was HTML, you wrote it, you did it. And now, if you're using something like Plone, every time someone comes and asks for a page, it creates it new. And so you don't necessarily get the same experience one day to the next, depending upon how the website is constructed. But even so, that website is intended to be fixed. And the Wayback Machine is showing us the way websites were way back when. But there's a whole other area on the internet where we have interactions that are intended to be temporary. We talk to each other without recording it. We have communications that may be a thread of replies to something, and when that something is deleted, everything, all those threads gone. So we have things that we intentionally make temporary on the web.
You know what, Lois, so I'm thinking, that's an interesting analysis about or comparison of websites versus intentionally temporary things. And then Dave, I'll come right over to you. I just want to say though that when I think about websites as static, and I'm a big website guy, I build websites for everything. They are static, but that is very web sort of 1.0, right? The best websites really, I think, aren't static, and in fact change not only over time, but based on who visits. They're able to be responsive to.
That's your definition of it's better.
Well,
that's your definition that it's better.
No, I didn't mean it's better. I mean, it's web. There has been a transition from web 1.0, which is, when the Wayback Machine, right, that has thank you, Vic, over 1 trillion archived web pages, that worked well in Web 1.0 because they were static for all intents and purposes. But I'm thinking again about YouTube and thumbnails, and how YouTube, I don't do this, but there's an A/B tester built into. You can put multiple thumbnails up and it will show it at different times to different people. It is intentionally dynamic and not static. And so a video that you watch, and it may be the same exact video, but we may have completely different experiences if for no other reason than the way we enter into that video. And we're not even getting into the idea of going back after the fact when you think something has been archived and making changes to it. Go ahead, Dave.
My wife just bought a watch, and it's a very big watch company. And she couldn't really do much with the website except look at the ads and all the product lists and all that wonderful promotion and the wonderful close-ups and everything. But once she registered and put the serial number of her watch in, the web page change. So this is a personalization aspect of the web, which does make it possible to chase Dave around. The other thing I wanted to talk about is a bit of what both Tamara and Lois have been talking about, which is there's a personal person and then there's the public person. I'm a public person only, when I get up in front of people. I'm a very private person when it comes to what I want to do on the internet. And I share a lot of stuff and I have a lot of video conferences with people and I've written binders worth of consulting stuff, but that's all me. That's my job. And you don't get to see that stuff. So I guess, if people want to attract an audience, which seems to be the thing that everyone under 20 wanted to do, then they're going to put themselves out there in a public face, but they suffer the fact that somebody's going to want to know their private face too. I think in a sense, deleting what you recorded is one thing because you put it out there as a public thing to see and anybody can tune it in. But if you want to be private, you still can on the internet and you can edit yourself out. Now, Google had a big fight with Europe getting the right to remove. And most countries have adopted that policy that if you ask Google to take you off, they can do it. And they can leave you an archive of what they had. And that came out actually through Facebook as well. You can download everything you had on Facebook all those years ago and have it sent to you as a big zip file that you can barely download. But anyway, these kind of removals are there. But when you talk about selective editing, again, that's that other strata that Lois is talking about. There are different things we do that have different elements of permanence. And if I wanted something permanent on there, like a memorial to somebody I felt was very important, then I would lock it in. I mean, I wouldn't be able to change it. You can lock a website.
So you
can make it unsearchable too.
I need to throw to John, but I just want to push back on one thing you said. You said when you download all of your stuff from Facebook, and you immediately made me think about Google Takeout, which is the same idea. You kind of dump everything in a huge zip. I'm not at all convinced that when I do that, that means that I've removed that from Google or Facebook. I think I've downloaded it, so I now have a local copy, but I don't think that it's gone at all.
It's a bit like your hard drive. It's sort of erased from the directory, but it's still on the hard drive.
Maybe.
And so they still have it on their servers. They're just not allowed to show it to anybody.
Right. Yeah.
And it will all actually reappear as soon as you log back in again and subscribe.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah.
I was going to say, Dave, some of the things you're talking about existed before the quote internet. Having a different color for a magazine. Time magazine used to do that regularly. They would put different covers on to see, what ones moved on to the newsstand. So I think we have to look and say, is this really something different? Same thing in terms of an interaction being different. I know a store that had numerous salespeople, and when a person walked in the door, a different person was assigned to go meet that, depending on what their marketing strategy is. So I think a lot of what we're seeing now in the internet in this way is just an extension of what we were doing previously in other forms of communication and focusing the communications. For me, when you were saying earlier, did you ever put anything embarrassing on the internet or embarrassing in email? My model is my email system won't send a letter until 60 seconds after I've hit return. That usually gives me enough time to go, did I really need to do that? And I do the same thing with anything that I would be publishing on the internet. Very rarely, unless it was a bug report or something that had to be happening very quickly, did I do anything without letting it sit and simmer for a while. I see, Scott, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I do. But Dave's the dispenser of the talking stick.
No. Go ahead. I just want to say, someone in the chat also mentioned, forgive me, I can't find it, so I don't know who said it, but the that delay, I have that set in Gmail also, for a 10-second, 30-second delay, which is, boy, is that a gift. Yeah.
Well, Tim McCullough said that one.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Tim.
And I want to give nod to Rocky and Bullwinkle's show for the Wayback Machine. So if you don't know it, you can look it up. Anyway, the thought came to mind is in designing this web tool for searching that we're doing, we realized we are using a lot of the pre-existing constructs that are now very comfortable with. What does Google do? Well, they do it this way. Is that the best way? Is that the right way? It's irrelevant. It's the way people are trained. So if we're presenting a tool, we are now using a lot of the existing, formulas. And that's why, again, I love Adobe. It's very expensive now, but they have the tools. I may not know what all they do, but they're all in the same construct. And so that's where I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but this search engine that we're doing is going to reinvent the wheel.
Well, it is. And in fact, you led me to something that I've been thinking about, which is search and how search is working. Google, for the first time in 25 years, changed the way search works now, in that now I believe the statistic is just over 50%, maybe 54% of searches do not lead to clicks on websites. So we were talking before about websites, whether they're static or dynamic. 54% of the time now, because of AI and the way Google has changed the way search works in their search page, people aren't ending up on websites. They're getting dynamic answers based on information, real-time information. Sometimes it's on the internet that is evolving and changing constantly, which means that two people can ask the same question and get different answers. Let me go to John and Lois.
Well, I want to do one quick product placement, because I did talk to Guy and Alexander over the weekend, and I'm going to bring this product that we're doing, which is a assistant editor. And this is where, Tamara, I need your conversation on this too. Is imagine 21 hours with 100 different people doing a synthesization and finding of over 3,000 specific moments that as an editor, it's like, I know they said this thing, where is it? And so we're in development of that specific tool that
you're behind the curve there, because Strata already does that.
Well, I know Michael Tioni, and
Yeah.
you're not wrong.
Yeah.
And there's more than one way to skin a cat. So many skinless kitties.
So I was going to follow up with what you were saying, Sky, in that people thought, the internet was different when early days of internet back in the 90s, just, post ARPA. People thought I was an amazingly smart person because of the things I could find on the internet. And it turned out I knew Boolean logic and how to apply it to a search. It was the same search I used in libraries and same things that lawyers did. So I think there is a change now. I find myself less doing searches like I was used to, and I feel comfortable, like my comfortable shoes, and now going and using AI to find the information that I want. And I'm pretty amazed at some of the things I've been able to do. I had a pair of slippers that worked perfectly. I loved them. They were so old and messed up that I decided I'd replace them. The size of them had been worn off, so I ordered it online, came in, and it was the size of my shoes, but it didn't fit. And then I went online and found out that this particular slipper is a little small, so you have to do a size larger. Well, I did, in fact, a size larger, fact, too, because that's what they recommended. And it turns out that one came and was too big. And now, frustration, I finally went on internet and said, I need to know, I have this old pair of shoes that I can't find the right size of. How do I find out the right size? And through AI, it told me how to measure it, what the exact size is, and now I'm going to get the proper shoe. Never would have gotten that with a traditional search. That was AI helping me.
But there's the fun part, isn't it? Remember 6 months ago when we were challenged, stop thinking about AI as a search engine. Well, we had been trained for 15 years that this is how you search, and it was new and cool and fantastical. But now we are solving problems rather than asking questions. I mean, we're still asking questions, but we've exponentially upped the game with what this Mensa ability that we now have available to us.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's.
But it also has
I'm not
made a
sure
big
that's-
difference.
Hold on one second, Tamara.
Okay.
I've got to get to Lois. I just want to say, I'm not sure that's a good thing, though, Sky. Lois, go ahead and jump in.
So you were saying that 54% of the questions on Google are not, don't lead to a website.
I think
Well,
that's the stat. Yeah.
Okay, most of the time, if you're just asking a question like, what's the address of this place? Or what's the average temperature in my town that at this month? Or things like that, data questions, something that there's some fact that you want to get. You don't need to have a whole lot of theories. You don't need to compare and contrast what people say. You're just looking for a data. And so in that case, that it doesn't matter if you go to a website and you're muted, so I can't hear a word you're saying. So
No,
I get to talk.
it does matter. It does matter. Because it doesn't matter to you. You just want the answer. But it does matter to weather.com. Because when you go to their website to find out the temperature, they have ads running. And you see those ads.
Yes, but I don't use weather. I've never used weather.com.
No, but what I'm saying is that if you search for the weather, and the way to get the full report that you want is to click through to weather.com, Google makes money because you clicked through. Weather.com makes money because of the ads that are running on their page, and you get your answer. When you don't do that, when you just get the answer right from the search, no one gets money. No, you get your answer, which is great.
It's like
but
that you know
Siri.
of.
It's like using Siri. You just get the answer.
yeah, agreed. But again, but the argument for today, I think, well, one of my arguments, and then John, I'm throwing to you, for today is that, and this goes back to trust a little bit, but when we believed that information lasted forever on the internet, then I trusted the websites that I would visit because they were there and they were. Now, not only do I not have to even visit the websites, not only can the websites change, but the information is I don't know how to validate it. And that's the question for today, right? In a world where anything digital can be altered, how do we validate? How do we know where it's come from? How do we know who's made the changes? Vic made a really good point in the chat about Wikipedia, which I think is even less important now than a lot of things. But boy, when it started, Wikipedia is a fascinating model because the whole point of Wikipedia was come on and edit it. Everyone, the whole world, come edit the information and change it on a moment by moment basis. John, go ahead.
I don't know which of the many directions to take from that, but I'll hit the Wikipedia one because that's the one that you just spoke about. I mean, I think this is an interesting thing in terms of sort of world change. When Wikipedia came out, Encyclopedia Britannica was the largest selling encyclopedia. The Britannica encyclopedia people were not going into technology. They said electronics aren't going to, ever change. I remember talking to a salesman going, no one's going to buy a set of CDs for their kid. They want to have the 20, volumes of the encyclopedia. And then the world changed and you got Wikipedia. You were talking about the Weather Channel being concerned about you not going and doing a search to the Weather Channel. That wasn't much different than the change where you used to go to get classified ads from your newspaper. But when you could get them in a different medium, somebody got paid. The difference was a change from the local newspapers that were a cash cow were their local classified ads, and that went away. So I think we're having to look at there's changes in technology, and it's going to shift where audiences go to and look at things. And back to even you were saying, should we be on X or should we be on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn? Those are very different than when we had 3 networks and you couldn't see anything at all. So it's going to be, we as educators or researchers are going to have to figure out, well, what are these trends? I think the challenge now is things are happening so fast my daughter, at one point back in the day, I was doing early video conferences. My kids saw us doing remote classrooms. They say, "Hey, Dad, does this mean we don't have to go to school anymore? We could stay home and get the video from the classrooms?" And I said, "No, you're going to have to go to school, but in the future." And my son said, "Well, I want it now." And my daughter said to him, "Don't worry, Brendan, the future is coming faster." And I think what we're seeing now is the future is coming a lot faster.
There it is.
But McLuhan had it right, I think, back in the day. And now we're just understanding that as the mediums change in the mode and things are hot, things are cold. But we still, until AI takes over and the robots take over, we're living, breathing human beings. And there's certain parts of how we're wired that's going to take a much longer time to evolve than our technologies.
I just love that you had that conversation with Brendan. That's fantastic. That's prophetic almost. Tamara and Tony, please.
I think that a lot of what we're talking about is I thinking of what you were saying, what Lois was saying, what John was saying. What we're talking about is twofold. One is this sense of data. So literally not even 6 months ago, when we talked about AI searching and having AI come up and be the answer, we were like, that's terrible. I don't get to see my sources. And then they gave us sources. They said, hey, here's the sources. And many of the sources that they gave me would have been sources I would have sought out anyways. When I look at the source, I'm like, yeah, those are the people I would have probably gone to if I would have, had a source thing. But the other part you're talking about is talking about commerce and talking about the business model that makes things run. And John touched on it, that the business model used to be paid ads, and then those paid ads went away and they became ads that are integrated into web pages and clicks and all of these things that made it. So we don't know where the next ad revenue is going to be. Some of it's going to be similar where you get to that page. And then the other is going to be those sources that you're given in your AI become the ads, right? Become people who are paying enough to put themselves in that, where that generation is coming from. So I think that seeing a business model change is not necessarily a bad thing, because we have had the way that internet ads have, where they started out so gentle and kind. And now they're like, you can't even read an entire article without it popping up, taking over the whole screen, right? So it's not even an enjoyable experience to do a Google search and click on a link of a known corporation that you really want the information from without it being so horrible. So if that went away in favor of whatever the next new thing is, I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Tony, go ahead.
I was a little bit frustrated on yesterday. I was looking at, I want to say it was TikTok. It might have been Facebook. Anyway, there was an ad that was showing, and it was a weight loss. It was a weight loss commercial. And so I was looking at it and I said, man, the person that was overweight looked really looked good. And I was like, that was interesting. And then I watched it and it showed the person after they lost weight through whatever product they were selling. And then at the very bottom of the ad, in teeny tiny writing, you have to really be looking for it, it said the whole thing was AI generated. And I was stunned because it really looked good. And it was definitely not slop. And so I was like, the idea of using an AI model for a weight loss commercial, I think we're in a different space.
Yeah, I agree with that.
By the way, I'm going to go to Sky, but just a programming note. Next week, the episode is going to be on, we're going to focus on a lecture given by Yuval Noah Harari, who is an amazing historian and thinker, and he's done a tremendous amount of work about AI. And he makes a really interesting argument about the I don't mean threat in a derogatory way, but what we should be focused on when we think about AI is actually around language. That AI is learning our language, as it were. It's an absolutely fascinating lecture, but we'll talk about that next week. But it ties into what you were just talking about, Tony. Go ahead, Sakai.
Well, in language, our search engine, while it's about the particular conference that we're using to test this thing is about supplements, products that you can add to your dietary supplements issues. So we typed in gut health, and it came back with, well, I don't feel good, and my abdomen is crunchy, and it's like it intuited the term and went even further than the actual absolute word gut health. So the other thought that came to mind is, when we're talking about this, historically, there has been snake oil for how long? And then also the construct of a placebo, also, if you believe it, can be a very helpful tool. So I don't know where those fit into this, what is truth versus what we believe and what is healthy for us. I see a glimmer on Dave Troutman's going to save me on my question. Save me, Dave, save me.
You were just reminding me that I grew up in a large family, and everything was broken at some point. You can't guarantee that it was going to survive until you got to the edge of being allowed to use it. So we broke more toasters. We had more things toys that didn't make it, and all the rest. So I guess I have in the bones that nothing is permanent. I'm not permanent, certainly. And everything in the world is going to either break or change or be adjusted or reinvented. And sometimes we're not happy with that reinvention, but I just accept that I never did imagine things being as permanent as they are. And so I have my own ways of making things permanent, because I have a lot of, well, props, I guess we call them here. I got props everywhere for all the things that I think are permanent. So
I thought my iMac gumdrop was going to be permanent until it wasn't, and it went away on a pickup truck with several other jazz drives, zip drives, many things.
we can list all the things that used to be. Yes.
You know what you just reminded me of, Dave, in iOS 27 that's coming out this fall, the camera has a new feature where after the picture is taken, boy, this is the height of nothing is permanent. After the photo's taken, you can change the perspective, not just the coloring. You can literally change the You can move the camera after you've taken the photo.
Yes,
that's
and
kind
that
of
generate
crazy.
a new angle for
Right.
you. Yes,
I was
that comes right out of the Vision Pro.
I was in the edit suite, and they said, we want the picture from the other angle, and I said, okay, did you shoot it from the other angle? Well, I don't know. It should be in the computer. I said, if you didn't shoot it, and I mean, this is Chris Fenwick's comment, is if you didn't shoot it, I don't have it. And so now you're telling me that phrase is now gone.
You have it. It's almost like you have a 360 camera that, that is, I mean, it's not that extensive, but it's the same idea. The point being is that, a photo, the whole idea of a photo is to capture a moment, to capture it. That's not how photos work anymore. Right.
But the imagination is still as almost rock, granite, that if you are a creative person, so you can imagine the other angle. There are people that can't do that. It has to be what it is.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. That's not who I mean, thank you, but I'm actually not. I'm not good.
You're a
with
musician.
that kind of
How can you not say?
I'm just not. I'm not. I'm not good at framing those things. But more than that, I come from the world where a picture is a picture is a picture, and I don't want to change it. I don't care if it'll look better.
Right.
That's the moment that I captured.
Even slightly out of focus.
Yeah.
The things that we are talking about on the internet, online, on storage, on your computer, all those things. We have a situation where there are some things that are permanent that you don't want to be permanent, but they're going to be there. They're going to follow you around your whole life. They're going to be on that Wayback Machine. And if you search for that place, they'll find it. And then there are things that you'd like to be permanent, which evaporate. I transcribed all my television shows, and I put them on. I very carefully took them off the DVDs or the tapes or the whatever, and I put them on the computer. I have no idea where they are. They disappeared with one of those computers, in the past 25 years. I have no idea where they are. So the thing that we have are, in order for us to have something permanent, I have to tell David the thing, and it's in his head as well as my head. Maybe it's online, maybe it's not, but yeah. You got your microphone off again, Dave.
Goodness gracious, I'm sorry. I have that because I was trying to fix an echo we had before. I apologize. I would even argue, though, that something that's just because it's in my mind, it does not make it permanent at all. In fact, I would argue that
No,
makes
but
it even less permanent, because my mind
But that's
is
the
going
only
to
way to know that you can find it.
right. It's going to, but I'm going to
but
interpret it differently.
David, you will agree that an idea propagates. Like a good idea goes widely through people, and then it becomes permanent. That's how a thing becomes permanent. Is we all agree that it's a good idea.
No, I don't think it does become permanent, because I think it iterates as it travels. But I just want to go back for 1 second, because Lois, I love what you said about how the things that we don't like are the things that often become permanent. The things that we do like are the things that are transient. And I think you're right. And I think that's, that in many ways, that's the nature of the internet, because the things that we don't like, the dirt, the slop, the whatever, the negativity, that's what that drives engagement, unfortunately. And so those are the things that you're right, often stick around much longer than the stuff that we wish.
Oh, that's
it
style.
depends on-
Style's on a pendulum. Style swings
that's
left and
true
right,
also.
back and forth.
Yeah.
That's,
Sorry, Lois, go ahead and finish.
So it depends on each individual person as to what it is that you don't want found out. I mean, if any of you become politicians, you're in big
Right.
trouble,
Right.
trouble. Because we are of a time when we've all been on the internet for a long time. And so if someone were to look for dirt on Lois, I'm sure they'd find something or someone or something.
And Lois, and so this is now, I want to try and bring us back, because what you just said is so important, not only because of the point itself, that I'm sure they could find dirt. They could, believe me, they could find dirt on me, but because,
Or they could make it up.
or that's it. Because
Right.
I keep coming back to this. There's nothing sacred, and I certainly don't mean to make it religious, but it's sacred in the sense that it's stood the test of time. There's some, I don't know. It's real. It feels real. It's there. Because we have lost that. We've lost the ability to have things feel more permanent, feel foundational. I don't worry about whether people will find dirt on me. I worry about the dirt that will, as you said, be made up about me.
Well, and also misinterpreted. So
And
I've been
misinterpreted.
out of the classroom for a long time. And when I've thought about, do I want to go back in the classroom? It would be very hard for me to go back in the classroom, because if you do an internet search of me, I kept all of teacher Tamara off of the internet because I didn't want my students to find me, and I didn't want anything. What you can find is all of my production experience, which isn't necessarily bad. I don't mind that. But then if I go for any job, even when I go for jobs in entertainment, they do a Google search. And then I've had jobs where I've lost out on jobs that I would be fine at, and I applied for them, so I'm okay with it. And they made a judgment based on what they read online and said, but you are an executive producer. You can't possibly want to be a production manager. Try me. I'm happy to be a production manager. So I think that that's the other side of it, is that people interpret whatever they want to interpret, and you don't control that narrative necessarily. And again, find out whatever you want about me online.
And that's Matthew McConaughey's comment is, be careful what you're good at, because that's what people will expect you to do and do and do. And so this is me in my reinventing of Sky 7.0 is, what do I want to be doing 5 years from now? So I'm trying to project that experience rather than just going, I'll do whatever, because I used to be able to be an editor and make a living at it. Well, that ship sailed.
You're
So,
curating.
Sky,
You're
you could
curating
make,
your future self.
Yeah.
I'm
could make
I'm
yourself
creating
a
my own
web-
narrative. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I
Lois,
have
go
the
ahead.
right to do that, and I've got the skills to do that.
Yeah.
So
You could-
I own that.
You could
It's
make
not
your own
easy, though.
website, and then you could put up there the experiences that you want people to be able to find. And at some point when they go and search for things, they may come across a few other things, but they'll come across your website. But
Oh,
when
if
you
they go
do
to my
that, be sure
Facebook-
to put your date at the bottom, updated in
if only-
2010.
If only
here-
it were that simple. If only it were that simple.
Like I Googled everyone on this panel,
Oh,
and I
God.
looked at you in AI mode, which is fascinating. Look at yourself in AI mode, because you can see, I can see
Who's AI?
everywhere that it has pulled. So if you do a Google search
Hold on,
and you choose
I'm gonna share
AI
it with you,
mode
but you have to do
versus
it.
other modes,
Yeah, wait a second. You have to do it incognito because otherwise it knows about you. So let's go here.
it didn't pull from any of the stuff from mine that wasn't. I can see. I know exactly where it pulled.
So
my
we'll
stuff
do
from.
me. So this is Google incognito. Oh wait, I didn't mean to do that. I should have clicked. Why don't I?
You can
have,
do it, and there's a.
Oh, 'cause
so
if
go
you're
ahead
not
and search,
signed in-
and it's.
No, but if you're not signed in, you don't get the AI mode. Interesting. You have to be signed in. All right, so we'll do it here. AI mode. All right, so it's now searching me. Frequently known as the rock and roll rabbi, the Torah tech guy. All right, that was pretty good. I mean, this is
It like does little bios for everybody, and then it gives you little
Yeah.
links below it.
yeah, it's very nice. It's my CV basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And it pulls from various things. So it's totally a different experience with AI searching information on people, because it's creating a bio for you, and it's pulling from, like, I can see, knowing how this is different from what my current resume is, that it's not, I can tell it's not pulling like from LinkedIn necessarily. It's pulling literally from recent bios that people have used in different events and curating that data together.
But if you
Well-
create what you want people to
There you go.
find,
Absolutely.
then it'll show up at some
If
But-
I
but
revise
again, it
my
won't,
bios
though.
and make sure that, well, here's the thing, it's pulling from, because the places that it's pulling for me, I can only speak for me. I can see where it's pulling, and I have old bios that I'm using. If I use more current bios in some of those organizations, then it'll pull the most recent one. So you can curate, but it's a little more difficult than curating your Facebook page, which your Facebook page is mostly ads now anyway.
My point is just that it used to be that you could create a website for yourself or a landing page or a MySpace, and then that would kind of be the source of truth. And I think that really what today is about, in part at least, is that is absolutely not true anymore.
Right.
That you can have a website, but if there's no SEO, if you haven't optimized it, Google won't even find it. It won't even know it exists, and it absolutely won't rank it high and so Facebook and all the social stuff, and I mean, I'm looking at on mine right here, the main sources are from something that I used to be affiliated with, and it happens to be correct information, but I haven't been affiliated with them for years. But apparently they're doing some great SEO work, or in this case, GEO work. So I wish it were as simple as, put out there what you want people to know about you, and that's what they'll know. It's not that simple. I'm giving the final word to Mr. Dave Troutman. Go, Dave.
Well, thank you. This has been really interesting because for me, the theme that you had in the rundown sort of bookwork was unexpected change, that things you expect to be permanent suddenly have been changed and you don't know why or how or when. And you come across it again and go, well, that's not how I thought it was. I think we had a thing about truth a long time ago, and I think that's connected to the trust. If it can be changed, is it the truth? And I think in a sense, when people aren't truthful, then they've broken the trust. And if they do it in the background, if they don't let you know that we're updating, correcting, changing, or our whole, what is the user policy now for some things? They just say, that we've changed all our user policies and our privacy policies, and you can't know what that is. But the sense I get is that because we expect some things to be permanent, and that's a standard human condition, we expect when we emerge from the cave that the world still looks the same. And we come off the internet and we think everything that we just saw is going to be there when we get back. and it isn't.
Yep.
Times they are a changing.
Well, that's
But
a
it's
different
good
thing.
enough.
And there's our YouTube flag.
That's what it is. I love what Vic says. Don't believe your lying eyes. We've had a few.
Exactly.
We've had some of that in throughout politics here in America, also, right? Don't believe what your eyes are showing you.
Critical thinking. Let's
Yep,
bring it
the
back.
the right to be forgotten. He talks about. We did the Wayback Machine. It's so wonderful to have so many people participating in the chat, both on Mukana and over on YouTube. Thank you for being here. Thank you for
And we
being a
all
part
learned
of-
Your
about
daughter
Gmail
ghosted
delay.
us tonight, though. She didn't.
No, she
Well,
was
she
here
was-
in the beginning, but then she had to get in her car and leave because she was at my house and I didn't want her here anymore.
Well, she can text while she. Oh, sorry. Never mind.
No, God forbid. But yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube or Mukana, thank you for being a part of the conversation. Thank you for being here. We are here every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow morning, we've got another episode of Office Hours with your questions and your answers tomorrow afternoon. We will be back in the Zoom test kitchen celebrating both Canadian and American freedom, which apparently both were this week, right? Canadian freedom was July 1st. Is that what it is? Was that yesterday?
Well, it's the establishment of our dominion. Yes,
Well, there you go. See, it's something I knew about Canada.
1867.
1860. Well, there you go. So we'll be celebrating all of that, and we'll be playing with Zoom and stuff like that. And by the way, hey, thank you, Zoom, for being a sponsor of all things Office Hours. Let's just take a quick look here at what Sky is doing, because that's a really fantastic look.
I'm being
for you.
political.
Being political.
Red and blue. No, I don't
So
know.
if we don't see you tomorrow, happy 250th if you're in America. If you're not in America, congratulations. And we will see all of you next time on The Rundown.